Hi there. After my family and I started homeschooling, not long after, I decided to plan a trip to Washington, D.C. and the surrounding area. And we went with another family, and my kids had a blast. We visited all over D.C. I ran them ragged, but we had such a great time. And it's a trip that I really want other homeschool families to be able to enjoy. So I've organized a trip from April 12th to April 18th of 2026 just for homeschool families. And we will be seeing some amazing sites. We'll go to Ford's Theater, where the Lincoln assassination took place. We'll go to the Spy Museum. We're going to see, of course, all the memorials. We will see some government buildings. Also, Mount Vernon is one of my favorite places where George Washington made his home, and the National Zoo, the Museum of the Bible, the Smithsonian, and also Arlington Cemetery. So please join me. This is one of the best things you can do as an American homeschool family. But even if you're coming from abroad, you're more than welcome. I hope to see you there.
The Sam Sorbo Show is brought to you in partnership by the Herzog Foundation.
All right. So she's been sued for standing up for kids, but she won't back down. From libraries to City Hall, she's fighting for truth, for families, and for your voice, too. So stay right here. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. This is the conversation they don't want you to hear. Here we go.
Sam Sorbo,
Sam, welcome back to the program.
I'm glad we welcome Sam Sorbo.
It's great to have you here.
Okay, so my guest is a mother and an educator and a fierce defender of children and parental rights. She has over 30 years of service to families, and she stood firm through the whole cancel culture and legal attacks that she's withstood. She lives and breathes the "We Are the People," and she's now running for Madison City Council and District 4 in Alabama. So Rachel Homolak, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I met Rachel through Parents Demanding Justice Alliance because we sent out a little bit of an APB for any parents who felt like they were wrongfully treated by their betters. I say that tongue in cheek, obviously, wrongfully treated by either their city councils or their school boards for basically standing up for kids, standing up for the truth, or what have you. And Rachel is almost become our poster child in a sense. You've really just grabbed the Hydra by its heads and you're just wrestling it all the way down to the ground. I'm so impressed by you. So your story is a little bit convoluted. So let's do a quick overview. You started in Missouri, you ended up in Alabama. Let's start in Missouri. Why not? Because that's where the story begins. What were you thinking? What were you doing? What tipped you off?
All I did was go to the library to take my then 4-year-old son to go get a library card. Walked in and realized that the individual running the children's section of our library was a crossdresser. And so I wasn't going to have any of that. And not only is Missouri a red state, but St. Charles County is the largest conservative county within the state. So I definitely disagreed with what was happening with our taxpayer dollars, and I spoke out against it.
Do you mind? Because I think it's important to get an image of this individual, and I don't think we actually have photos of this particular crossdresser. There are crossdressers out there that are, maybe they look a little bit off. You're not quite sure like what's going on. That was not the case in this case, right?
No, this individual had a full goatee, giant hoop earrings, gaudy drag makeup, nails done, in dress. And when I say in dress, we're talking this individual would wear fishnets and 4-inch stilettos and mini skirts to where the library staff was uncomfortable that they might see genitalia. So
that's just astonishing. But apparently, even though some of the library staff was uncomfortable, the head of the library was like super fine with all of this.
Oh, not only was he fine with it, I'm sure he encouraged it. His name is Jason Cool. He deemed himself the CEO of the library instead of the director
He
because,
retitled himself.
yeah. So that just tells you a little bit about himself. Right. Yeah, I believe he encouraged it. And what was interesting is that he totally gaslit me too. He was like, oh, this is so weird. You're the only person who's ever complained about this. And I'm like, no, I don't believe that. So that's where my story begins, where basically, because of that gaslighting, I sought out people in my community to basically join me and say, no, we disagree with this. We think that there should be neutrality in the library, especially in the children's section, so that we don't expose our children to these types of, political ideologies and whatnot. So regardless of what your opinion is of it, neutrality should always be where we go, especially when the taxpayers are paying for it.
And that is not the position of the American Library Association. I know that from my own experience. They've been very hard and heavy towards the political left and to putting their agenda out there. So you called the CEO of the library, the self-titled CEO, and you asked for a meeting. And he eventually agreed to a meeting and then stood you up. Is that how that worked out?
Well, it wasn't just stood me up. He set me up. So yeah, he said this happened on a Monday. And he never took any of my contact information. He said, well, fine, I'll set up a meeting with you. Because I just insisted. I said, you need to speak to me face to face as a concerned mother, not just a phone call and whatnot. So this meeting, he said, okay, just be here at the Spencer Road Library at 9 a.m. on Friday. And I said, oh, okay, that's it. He never took my name. He never took my number. He never took my email, nothing. I show up, and with me and about 60, 65 other people that were supporting me, we show up. There's 4 outlets of media. There's like 9 cop cars. There's like dozens of LGBT, whatever the letters are this week, activists just waiting, like lined up along the entrance. Like they set it up so I had to do like some walk of shame or something to go, right? And so I just was like, well, I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Musical Theater, so let's go, lights, camera, action. And so, as I have to get my earbud back in, I'm a little dramatic, so sorry. And it just kind of went from there. I walked in, was informed.
Let me just pause, because I have to recognize the prescience, the cleverness that you showed when he gaslit you and said, no one else has complained. You actually found people who agreed with you. They were like, yeah, I actually believe that too. And you said, well, if you don't mind, come out on Friday at 9 because I'm going to go talk to him. And it would be great to have people behind me saying, yeah, we agree with her, so that he knows that he can't say I'm the only person. Thank goodness you were right. Not that it would have deterred you had all of those forces been arrayed against you without people at your back. But thank goodness you arrived with a bunch of people at your back.
And it wasn't hard either. This really did upset the community a lot, just because of how
you had to convince people, hey, this is really bad. You were like, well, there's a cross-dresser in the library. And they were like, what? Wait.
Yeah, nobody. It was in one of the smaller branches. This is a pretty large library system. It has 11 branches, and this was one of the smallest ones. And so I wonder if that was strategically done on purpose, so that they were just waiting for like the right person to complain or whatever. And well, they got me, and guess what? I'm still here.
Whether or not they would have gotten somebody to complain, once they had codified that this was normal behavior to have this type of individual ministering to children in a children's library, which, okay, we're not even going to discuss the fact that you should not be taking your child to an ALA library, but
yeah, I know.
Clearly. But I think it's just, this is like they hired him and they decided to stick him in this small library. I'm pretty sure, right?
What people don't understand is like, it's not even just drag queen story hour. Like there's so much outrage about drag queen story hour. This was drag queen story hour every hour at my library at my expense. And I wasn't going to have it. So.
Okay. And so you showed up, you walked the gauntlet, so called, and you went into the library. It's interesting that the protesters weren't in the library.
They weren't. And it's interesting too. We've looked at the videos of all the protesters and stuff, and there were maybe 3 or 4 people that we recognized that were in the community. So we do believe that they were paid protesters. And why maybe Jason Cool made the meeting on Friday to give him enough time to be able to orchestrate this and everything. So, but who knows? That's just, I'm just going off of, assumptions here. But yeah, I walked in, was informed that Jason had canceled the meeting. Again, gaslighting me again. Like, okay, so how do you cancel a meeting, but then have paid protesters and media and police and everything? Like, explain that one to me. So
cancel a meeting and you have no way of notifying the person that you're canceling the meeting.
Yeah, they said, oh, well, we had your email address from just records. And I'm like, okay, I went through my email. I had not received anything. I don't know if it was incorrect, if it went to spam, who knows? I don't check my spam account. But what was funny is that there were other people in the building. The building has a big lobby area, and it's open, both levels. And we have him photographed being a coward. He was up on the top level behind the railing and stuff. So he was there watching me while I'm talking to his administrative staff as they explained to me that clearly the meeting has been canceled. And yeah,
why are you having an event outside the library then?
Right. So then started the publicity. I was on the front page of the St. Louis Dispatch, and word got out, and it angered obviously a lot of LGBTQ people. And I just decided to go forward with it. I wasn't scared. I felt like this was some sort of a calling that I needed to speak out against. And we proceeded, God got me in touch with a lot of great people, where I got in touch with senators, Secretary of State, AG, everything. And we were able to just with the county council, they were on my side 100%. And there's a lot of liberal council people that are on that, that sit there, and they agreed. They said this needs to just be neutral. So they actually, they created basically a resolution that said, look, we just want neutrality. Now, again, we never asked for Danny, the drag librarian, to be fired or even moved or anything. We just said, look, this is a library. It is for all families, and all families includes my family. My family's conservative. We are Christian, and we don't want to expose our children to that. That's not something that we want. And that must be respected as well, which is interesting because their mission statement and whatnot at the library was that they respect all families. And I'm like, well, clearly you're not respecting mine. So, but it was nice to go forward and have that support.
Thanks for tuning into the Sam Sorbo Show. We are in a battle for our very nation, a nation that was founded on Christian principles and on the Bible. The 10 Commandments is the basis for our rule of law. But these days, when you go talk to people on the street, you'll find that most of them don't even know what rule of law means. And that's why I'm so proud to have Herzog Foundation as a sponsor of my show. I also love what they do because they seek for the benefit of Christian education throughout the nation. So Herzog Foundation is a wonderful partner for us here at the Sam Sorbo Show. Thanks for watching. Right. So the upshot was Danny had to curtail some of his more flamboyant costumes, or what?
I mean, we were just saying, look, no cross-dressing, keep it neutral. Cross-dressing, whether, it aligns with whatever they're saying it is, non-binary or, trans. Now, eventually he says that now he's trans, and we'll get to that later. But regardless, he wasn't trying though. He clearly had a full goatee, facial hair, and dressing like a woman and stuff. It was definitely clear that he was trying to confuse these kids. And to me, I think that's mental molestation of our children.
I mean, it's a fetish. He's a fetishist, and he's working out his fetishistic behaviors, and it's very disturbing. And you don't want to be on an outing with your 4-year-old and have to confront that.
Exactly. And again,
I
if
get it.
this were, at some private business or whatnot, fine, then I just won't take my patronage to that business anymore. But this is the library. It's different. It's funded by us, the taxpayers.
Well, but
So
it's also for children. And we
exactly.
used to have laws that prevented exposing children to sexual stuff. And this very clearly is a sexual fetish.
Hmm.
And yet we're saying, no, he was born that way, or, this is just his self-expression or whatever. And I think we need to drill down and define some of our terms. And it sounds like you managed to define at least the term neutral to everyone's satisfaction. We'll see. But meanwhile, there were other things that were happening. So you read some books in front of a school board. We're going to show a clip of this on Facebook, and it's you in a gray shirt, and you're going to read this school book. But you have a bunch of school books that are open, that are down on the ground in front of you. So can you tell us what's happening here? And then we'll listen to the clip.
So after everything happening with the children's section, I realized that they were really pushing this, sexual nature on children. I started doing some investigating, and I realized that a lot of those disgusting, vile books that people talk about nationwide were in our library and in our children's section. So I started bringing that to light. And basically in the video, it was at a library board meeting. I had checked out all of those books, highlighted all the different areas, what was, inappropriate and everything. And basically was just describing exactly and reading from the books what was in our children's section. I mean, what's the problem? If it's just in our children's section, why can't I read a children's book in front of a bunch of adults on the library board? So make it make sense.
We also have this it's perfectly normal, teaching children that it's fine to do that, encouraging that. Also encouraging masturbation.
Thank you.
And
Time's up.
So, Jason, is this okay? Is it okay to draw little girls? Is it okay to draw little girls with their genitals out? It's not.
Kick her out.
It's not okay.
Kick her out, people.
I'm leaving.
Stop the comments, please.
I'm leaving.
And so you read that, you read them. What was the upshot of that? What happened with that then?
So they tried to have me removed. They actually did have me removed from the podium. They called the police. They brought the police in and tried to have me removed from the actual meeting. I know my rights. So I did not budge. I did not move, and the police could do nothing about it. So I just have to know what's going on and stand your ground.
So this is actually kind of a training lesson for other activists out there, other parents who are a little bit maybe disgruntled with some of the paraphernalia, the pornographia that exists in our libraries or in our schools even. And so you just knew that you were allowed, you had your 3 minutes to speak. It is children's literature. It exists in the library. Why you wouldn't be able to read it at a library board meeting is beyond us, right?
It calls them out on their hypocrisy is what it does.
But they did try to shut you down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They cut my minutes off. They had me removed by their personal security. It wasn't even the police or anything. They had hired personal security because of me. They had a budget for personal security because of me. For whenever Danny the drag librarian was working or any of these meetings, they hired a security service. And again, that was at the expense of the taxpayers,
Yes.
which is ridiculous.
Right.
So
Okay, so fast forward a little bit into this story, and they've outed you. They've made you a target. They've made your family a target.
I was voted St. Louis Karen of the Year. I've had so many hit pieces on
You're
me.
the opposite of a Karen.
Yeah.
they're trying to use the derogatory term that's applied to liberal women who are far too sensitive to you. Okay, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I just laughed. But yeah, it was basically, I've had giant outlets such as like Pink News, LGBTQ Nation, The Atlantic did a hit piece on me. So yeah, it's just been one piece after another trying to paint me as like this villain, when all I am is a concerned parent who says, look, maybe we shouldn't be exposing kids to this type of content. That's
Well,
it.
especially now when we are seeing the number of young children who believe that they are transgender. And it's not, here's their problem. They have to make the case that for millennia, we had this many people who were so upset about their gender, and somehow they managed to go through their entire lives without a whisper of wanting to change their gender, right? That's their problem, because they can't make the claim that this is natural. And so it has to go back to the exposure, right? It is nurture. It is not nature. It is nurture. And they have a big problem because we are slowly, through your efforts and the efforts of people like you, we're slowly waking up to this and saying, oh, they're messing with these kids. They're actually actively trying to damage children. And so you stood up and it came down hard on you. I know you ended up moving, but you didn't move because of this, right?
Oh, absolutely not. I was so upset at my husband. I mean, it's hard to be upset at your husband. Be like,
a better job.
I'm so sorry you got this amazing promotion and everything. But I'm like, babe, I'm right in the middle of all this. But you just have to trust God. Even though I left the state, I still actually to this day help everybody out in Missouri. I still have state senators and whatnot that contact me on a regular basis to help them through everything, because actually what's happened in Alabama should be basically a good roadmap as to how to handle the pornographic materials that are in the children's section. Alabama, seriously, we've done such a great job here in Alabama. And defined what sexually explicit is, defined obscenities and whatnot, made sure that applied to libraries. Because I don't know if everybody knows this, but libraries act as autocracies. And we know they're totally infiltrated through the left, through the ALA and everything. But their governing and everything is all internal. And it is so hard to change things within the library. And also included with that are obscenity laws. They are exempt from obscenity laws in most cases. And so we had to really fight hard to get those definitions down pat so that the library couldn't sit there and try to find loopholes and whatnot. And so I really hope that other states like, Missouri and whatnot can kind of just, take heed to how we did things and whatnot.
Copy and paste, and that's the way it's done. I need to get that from you because, we have the same problem in our schools. The obscenity laws don't apply if you can say it's educational. Well, what is not educational?
Right.
I don't know how to murder people. Does that mean you should be teaching me how to murder people? It's educational. I mean,
right?
It's a ridiculous idea. Yeah.
And that's what the left is really good at. They're good at blurring those lines. They're good at, making blanketed statements so that they think they corner you. Like my favorite here in Alabama was, oh my gosh, you don't like that book? It talks about consent. You don't like consent? How dare you? I can't believe you hate consent. And it's this group called Read Freely. And Read Freely just means they want kids to read porn freely. But it's just, they'll do that and they'll try to, shove you in a corner. You just have to stand your ground and be like, yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. It's not my fault that book contains sexually explicit images and inappropriate material, but also has mention of consent. You can't say the book is about consent then, but that's what they'll do. And they're so dishonest. You know how dishonest the left is. So, it is what it is.
Are you looking for quality homeschooling resources? Apologia offers top-notch curriculum for all ages. It's designed to inspire a love of learning and a strong foundation in faith. Head over to apologia.com and use code SORBO10 to get 10% off your next purchase. Equip your children with the best education tools and save today at Apologia, the trusted choice for homeschooling families. I wrote a book years ago called They're Your Kids. In fact, I'm going to update it and re-release it because it needs a little bit of an update, I think, now. It was during the time of Common Core, and of course, we've advanced since then. But there's a chapter in the book called Poop in the Water. And I talk about it's a hot day and you're very thirsty and somebody brings you a glass of ice cold water. It's dripping on the outside with the condensation. And as you bring it to your lips and you're super thirsty, he says, there's just a tiny bit of poop in the water. And of course, the point is, I don't care if the book talks about consent. I care that it talks about the poop in the water.
Yep.
It's got poop in it. And so you can take your consent and shove it because the book is not about consent. It's about that other thing. And you know, we know this. So, all right. So you moved to Alabama. Alabama is another conservative leaning state. And Alabama has taken inroads into this and done, apparently by your standards, done a pretty good job of starting at least the cleanup effort. But that didn't prevent you from speaking at a city council meeting.
No. So the makeup of our actual library system is going to be 5 different people, or actually, I'm sorry, is it 7 different board members on the library board. 5 comes from the city of Huntsville, 1 comes from the city of Madison, and then another from Madison County. And so we would speak at the Madison City Council, not just because I'm a resident of Madison City, but because the person that is on the library board that was chosen and appointed for the library board was none other than the president of the Madison City Council. So we have a lot of double dipping going on in this area. So we show up not only because she's a city council member, but also she's on the library board. So of course we're going to talk to her, but she didn't like that at all. So her name's Renee Bartlett, and she's actually running for mayor right now. And please pray for Madison City because she cannot get that mayoral seat. So she's not a good person.
So we're going to show a clip of the meeting. You're standing, little tiny you, at a podium facing off with the council, and you're reading from a children's book. And we're going to show a little bit of that. But what I want to show in this clip is you being called out initially by a man on the panel and then by a woman who accuses you of slandering her or something. And then they have you escorted away.
We have 2 men over here, one behind the guy, and they're holding hands. You can tell he's anally penetrating him. So, again, this...
So you're more rude. You're more rude. You coming up here every week with this shock factor isn't helping. It's not at all. You're not going through any of the loops.
This is the truth. But
at the library.
What I'm saying is that, may I have my minutes back, please?
You're not going through the library to get that book.
It always talks about masturbation.
Okay, we're going to take a pause for just a moment, and I'm going to make sure that you are aware that our council resolution on public comments does not allow you to use profanity or vulgar or threatening gestures, and this is not what public comments are for. Now, you posed a question and you called council by a name. You can't do that either. This is supposed to be a civil convening, a hearing of thoughts. But if you have a complaint about a library book, there's a method for you to file a statement of concern, and this council does not rule on those. And so if you're going to proceed in this fashion, I'm going to have to ask you to sit down. If you have something else you want to say, I will allow you to proceed. It's your choice. So you can sit down. Your time is up. You can sit down. You're not listening. I'm telling you exactly what you need to do, and you need to sit down. Captain Anderson? I need to have you to sit down right now, or we're not going to let you come back. I'm going to need to ask an officer to remove you now from the lectern because you are not listening to the direction of the chair. No one is forcing you to check out a book from the library, but you are forcing people to listen to something they may not want to listen to. Yes,
You are excused.
There you go.
You are
Go through the
excused.
proper channels and get it gone.
Just tell us what actually happened here.
So yeah, I showed up, and just like I always do, you present the materials. They hate it when you actually present the materials to them. They want to think that there's nothing going on, that's not a big deal. But then as soon as you open up those books and start reading from them or describing from them, and that's what I was doing because they kept refusing to want to see the materials and whatnot. So I was like, well, fine, I'll get up there and I'll start describing it. And they didn't like that. And yeah, Greg Shaw, he's actually my district councilman. He said I was so rude and I'm always coming there and trying to do a shock factor and this and that. I'm not trying to do a shock factor or anything. I'm just presenting the truth. And it's not my fault that you don't like it and you don't like being called out.
You should have said, are you shocked?
Yeah, right?
Like, how did I shock you? What part of this is shocking to you?
Yeah, it's in the children's section. I mean, come on, it's just a kid's book.
And which was your argument. They didn't really have a right to pull you away, did they?
No, they did not. Absolutely. They turned off my microphone after about 2 minutes and then had me escorted away. That was a violation of my First Amendment rights.
What happened to you when you got escorted away? Just so people understand, like, what's at stake. Like, ooh, I don't want to be escorted away, but let's just allay their fears. What happened?
So at that point, you get to a point where you have to comply, even though you think it's unconstitutional and whatnot. You have to just
somebody carrying a gun. So
yeah. So I was told that if I didn't stop, then I would be asked to be removed, and not just removed, but removed from all future meetings as well. That was threatened to me as well, on top of just being removed. And so, at that point, I got what I needed. I kind of knew something was going to happen. I had the whole thing. I had several people recording it because it was live streamed, because I had a feeling that they were going to try to remove it or censor it and whatnot. So I got my recording of it, and I was able to stay at the meeting, and I go to pretty much all of the meetings ever since. And they haven't said much to me. I think at that point, I think they knew that they overstepped a line. And I actually have a meeting tonight where I'll be speaking about my candidacy for Madison City Council and everything. And I'm going to bring up the situation, because that is probably the biggest part of my platform, is making sure that we, the people, are heard and that we don't violate any of our citizens' First Amendment rights.
And so removing you, what I'm hearing you say is they removed you from the podium and allowed you to take your seat at the meeting and watch the rest of the meeting. With
the threat that if, I had said another word or anything, that I would have been kicked out and I would not be able to attend any in the future.
But they didn't even kick you out. I just want people to understand.
Yeah.
It looked terrible. Like, it looked like, oh my gosh, she's being escorted away. But actually they just walked you to your seat and then you sat down and you had said almost everything that you had wanted to say anyway. And you achieved what you went there for. And I think that's important to point out to people. You need to have some goals. Realistic goals. You're not going to change everybody's mind, everybody that's on the panel. What you want is, you want the video, you want the language, codified, as established, heard. And then actually, like, getting the interaction that you got was also part of your goal. Because and in fact, part of your goal was having them remove you, right? I mean, I don't know if that you set that up internally, but know for yourself, if you're going to speak at a meeting like this, and I'm talking obviously to the audience, your goal can be, I will speak until they ask me to leave.
Yes.
And then I will peacefully leave, because I will have said my piece, at least as much of it as I can. And then we will deal with the repercussions of that afterwards. So you're not pursuing a lawsuit at this point, right?
I'm not sure.
We don't know. You're reserving your right, as you should. Actually, I was thinking, because of the way you were talking, that you weren't, but actually, I'm gratified to know that you're like, we'll have to see, because they overstepped. They did a very bad thing, and that's part of what Parents Demanding Justice Alliance is engaged with, is putting these people back in their places so that they understand, if you're serving on a council or a board, and you have public comments, because they all do, like, they have to have public comments because they need to know what the public thinks about things. Your job is to sit there and listen to the public. That's literally, like, you have one job. Listen to what the public wants, because you're supposed to be doing the will of the people. And they have taken it. They've just gotten so big in their britches that they think that they don't have to listen to you. They know it all already. Well, of course, they went to school, so they know it all, but they don't.
They don't.
So
yeah, it's really sad. And I've had it happen twice here in Alabama. I live in an area where I live in the city, but I live in a different county. And so I was able to speak at the Athens Limestone County library system as well. They had a new board member that was appointed, and I reached out to her and said, hey, I want to get you up to snuff with all of what's going on in the libraries, since she's part of the Limestone County Republican Executive Committee, and thinking she's on my side as a Republican and whatnot. And she refused to meet with me. So I said, well, can I email you? So she gave me her email address, and I emailed her, all the stuff of what we fight and everything. She turned around and she contacted me back and said, don't you ever send that stuff to me. I'm going to call the police on you. If you ever try to contact me again, you're out of line, blah, blah, blah. So that was completely a surprise there. Well, that led to us getting lawyers involved with the Athens Limestone County Library, and actually led me to landing an article in the Daily Wire. And I was also featured on Trace Gallagher's show. So with that. So I know. So it's nice. I'm in a position where I can work both systems, the Huntsville libraries, and I live within the jurisdiction of the Athens Limestone County as well. So they see my face a lot when it comes to libraries, or they did. Things have been fairly resolved now with the state. And so I'm happy to say that they don't see me as much. But yeah, so it wasn't just one incident. I've had several incidences of trying to be silenced and threatened of having authorities called on me, supposed police reports being made on me and whatnot. And I have, actually circling back to Missouri. Danny, the drag librarian, is suing me for defamation because apparently he thinks that I've, defamed his name and that I've caused all sorts of harm and trauma. And I'm just like, are you sure about that? Have you Googled my name? If anyone's being defamed, sweetheart, it's me. So yeah, so that's going on currently as well, being sued. So I have political lawfare being used against me and to silence me. But what's interesting is that in the state of Missouri, there's basically a safety net called anti-SLAPP. And what that does is, if it can be proven that if you're sued and it's proven that it was used as lawfare to silence somebody or to intimidate so that you would stop speaking out, then what will happen is that the plaintiff will then have to pay for everyone's legal fees. And Danny the drag librarian is not just suing me, he's suing my mega church in St. Louis. He's suing school board members. He's even suing, he was one of the president of chapters for Gays Against Groomers, who came and volunteered to speak on our behalf. So he's kind of racked up quite a hefty legal bill. So
he's suing the former president of Gays Against Groomers.
He was the president of chapters. Yes. He's my friend, Chris.
Right. And so you had somebody from Gays Against Groomers on your side against Danny the librarian. So now Danny is suing, or Danny the drag librarian or whatever. And so you think your odds are very good in that suit.
Absolutely. So, and I think God has a hand in this.
Who's funding Danny? Who is funding Danny?
That's a good question, because the ones that are funding him, because I mean, again, he's a librarian. I'm not dissing librarians, but I know how much he was making, and it's not a lot. It's not enough to be like suing people. But what I want to know is, are those same people going to help him pay back all of our legal fees when the anti-SLAPP is granted to us? I don't know.
I think in discovery, you need to establish whatever connection is there, because then they might be on the hook. Otherwise, they won't be on the hook. Stay ahead of the storm with IQ Weather, a premium all-video homeschool course that makes learning science exciting and engaging. This vivid, entertaining program incorporates physics, chemistry, geography, geology, astronomy, and oceanography, giving your kids a well-rounded education in the fascinating world of weather. Designed to captivate young minds, IQ Weather makes complex concepts easy to understand and fun to explore. Visit iqweather.com and use code SAM to get 15% off your order. Give your kids a science education they'll love and stay prepared for anything. Start your IQ weather journey today.
We're just hoping for dismissal at this point. It's been going on for a while. The judge is just kind of sitting on it and whatnot. We're not exactly sure why, but again, just trust God.
In dismissal, you don't get the anti-slap, right? It doesn't apply because it's dismissed. It's interesting.
I'm not sure. I would have to find out about that. If it is completely dismissed, if you're not able to. But it was to my understanding, it would.
He's brought the fight.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously funded.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how you can prevail in a loud fashion,
Yeah.
Your chances are strong. You just have to figure out how to position it because, look, they do this all the time. That's why he's bringing a lawsuit, because if they can intimidate you, there are, 2,000 other parents who have knowledge of you, probably more, right?
Yep.
Who are intimidated just by the fact of the way that you've been treated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, of course, what we're up against, right? That's why PDJA is existent, to get retribution, to reinstate people's reputations, and to sort of pave the way for other parents to say, oh, well, I actually agree with that. And I'm going to stand up now because there's value in that. And
not just value, but I mean, like, there's power. I mean, there's so much power in numbers. And I think, especially during the Biden administration and everything, we were silenced so much and intimidated. Sorry.
You just did this for the Biden. That's hilarious. I haven't seen that before. That is hilarious.
We all have our opinions. But that was the weaponization of our justice system to silence parents like myself and basically anybody who opposed anything. If it came to, any liberal ideology and whatnot, it doesn't even necessarily need to be LGBTQ or anything. And I mean, we can go back to even, with COVID and
it's vaccines, it's masks, it's 6 feet, it's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were successful to an extent in intimidating us and everything. And now I really enjoy seeing the pushback with conservatives and libertarians and seeing people become brave and standing up. And that bravery is contagious. And that would be my biggest message to people who are thinking about getting involved or speaking at a meeting. Your bravery, somebody's watching. And somebody else is going to be inspired because of you. And that's mostly why I do this. I do that to inspire others, do all of this to inspire others. And also, obviously, to protect my children. Because if I don't fight, they're going to have to fight so much harder. And I can't live with myself with that. So
right. So well said. And your bravery is an inspiration to others to also be brave. It's great. I remember a story during COVID, and I was in TJ Maxx, and I'm in Florida, and it's kind of lax, but the masking is still going on and whatever and I did not wear a mask, and I breezed past people who were going to stop me and tell me to wear a mask. And I just, really fast. And then they didn't want to follow me because they recognized that there was some power in my defiance. And they didn't, they're not being paid enough to go up against that. They're just not being paid enough. Like, okay, fine. I'm just going to let her go. And so I was just in the stacks or whatever. And there was a gal there, and she was wearing a mask that was one of those bejeweled masks that was like that, like barely anything. I mean, nothing. It's not even a mask. It just looks like it might be a mask, but it's not, And I walked up to her because we were standing near each other, and I just looked at her and I go, "What are you doing? Why? What do you think?" And she's like, "Oh, really? You think I could just take it?" I'm like, "Yes. Yeah. Nobody's buying that. That's ridiculous. Like, you're not fooling anybody. Just take it off and be brave." And she did. It was pretty funny.
Good. And I love going to stores. They'd be like, excuse me, ma'am, do you have a mask? And I'm like, yeah. And I just walk away. It was great.
This one. Well, you're vaccinated, right? And I would say, I'm not stupid. What do you think? Boom.
Right?
Whatever you want to believe, man.
Like
it's none of your
whatever
business.
you want that answer to be. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay,
Oh my
so
gosh.
I know that your catchphrase, your message is "We the people." So just hit on that for a minute. We're running out of time, but you're a lot of fun to talk to, and I
Thanks.
do want you to hit on that. Like, what's important about that?
Well, I mean, look at the preamble to our Constitution. I mean, that starts with that. We the people. And there, and then enlists, all sorts of different things that unites us and that makes this country so wonderful. But also, I think what's interesting is that it also mentions our posterity. And our posterity is so important. And that is, again, it circles back to what is so important to me, my children, my posterity. And if we don't uphold everything that's been laid out for us already by our founding fathers, then we're going to lose this freedom. And so that's why this is so important to me. Our history, everything that our country represents is just that important to me, that I'm willing to lay out my life, lay out my reputation, everything, and say, no, this is my First Amendment right to be able to say these things and do these things. And I am not going to let anybody else tell me otherwise. I follow God and I follow what God instructs me to do. I'm here to further his kingdom, and I'm not here to make any friends. The only one that I worry about is God, because ultimately he's going to be my judge. And I want to hear thou good, thou good and faithful servant. That's all. And notice it's servant right there. Servant
Nice.
is the key word. And
Right.
that's why I feel like, this servitude that I'm trying to, win this city council seat, I think directly applies to that and to whatever God's plan is for me. We will see. Thy will be done.
It's just great. I just love it. We're going to put all the links in the show notes and everything so people can find you and support your run and all of that. I have 3 questions that I ask my guests. And so the first one is your education background and if you use it today.
Well, we touched on it a little earlier. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in musical theater. And it really has helped me so much. It's amazing how God has humor, giving me this passion and doing performing arts and whatnot, and how it's bled into my public speaking and this fight basically for our children, for our country. And so, yeah, absolutely. As much as I thought, spending all of that money on a pretty worthless liberal arts degree has actually really come in handy. So,
but then again, you could have learned all that stuff without going to college.
Yeah, but it's more fun,
Yeah, you had fun. I'm sure you did. Okay. Any advice that you would give your younger self?
Don't change. Stay true to yourself.
Stay true to yourself.
That's just something that I just have to have. It's a part of me. I had a good friend of mine in high school that one of the last things he said to me before he moved, he said, Rachel, never change. Oh. And, I'm happy that I was able to discover that early in life, and just stay true to yourself and don't back down. So.
Great. And then the last thing is, what do you think the most urgent cultural shift is that we need in this country?
I think it's going back to putting our children first.
Love that.
We live in a culture now that is so antinatalist, so against children. People don't tolerate children. I mean, I have 2 small children right now, and even just going out to eat, I get looks, I get stares, I'm being, we used to live in a time where we protected our children at all costs. And that has been compromised nowadays. And I really want to push for us to get back to where our children were the most important thing. And Amen. That's it. So.
That's it. I love that. So Rachel Homolak, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for me for now. But I do want to encourage you. Would you please help the show grow? I want you to go and leave me a review, and I will be reading reviews on the air in the coming shows. So make it good, make it poignant, make it tearful, make it heartfelt, make it humorous. Anything you want, just leave me a review. Give me 5 stars if you don't mind. to help me grow the show. And don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. We will see you next time. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. Remember, speak truth and speak it boldly.
The views and opinions expressed in the Sam Sorbo Show are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the Herzog Foundation.